everybody. It's Stephen and Walter here for another episode of So Chatty for February the 6th, 2016. Hope you saw your groundhog. We ate ours. It was delicious. No. But anyways, moving right along. Now, Walter isn't going to show you his shirt he's working on because he's already shown it to you before and he hasn't got any further with it. Although you did get a whole lot of buttons the other day, didn't you?
Yeah, but it wasn't specifically for that shirt.
Oh.
I just got them because I just happened to see them on Amazon. And last time I bought buttons from them, I got this really nice case of buttons a year or so ago, and I've been using them, and I'm beginning to deplete it. And they haven't had them in stock again. So
Buttons too bad. Adam sews. He gets his buttons from someplace, and I looked into it, but they can't. It would cost you an arm and a leg to get them here. But they had like their handmade buttons and covered, and they look really cool. But
yeah, I want to get, these are kind of plain buttons, but I'd like to get some decent buttons. I thought when we were in Toronto last time that we could go to a fabric store and look around at buttons, but we didn't because it was freezing cold.
It was freezing cold. Freeze the buttons right off you. Yeah.
Well, maybe sometime in the summer we can go down there and have a look around.
Button hunt.
But they're expensive. Buttons can be expensive.
Yeah, well, that's the price you pay for fancy, right?
Yeah.
So, okay, what have I been up to? Well, let's take a look. So I finished this In the Hoop project. This is the mini table runner, springtime mini table runner by OESD. There's OESD. It is tiny, like in comparison. This would be good on a little side table, or if you have a small kitchen table, it would be okay for a centerpiece for that. A little bit out of my color scheme. I don't usually deal in these kind of colors, but I thought, what the heck, let's give it a try. So it turned out pretty good. It's one of those ones that's all done in pieces, then you have to sew them all together on your regular sewing machine, which isn't a big deal. I guess I've done many of them like that. And I think they called for doing the, what do you call it, the pillow turn or the burrito turn or whatever it is, for doing your, instead of doing a binding. But I don't like that method because I find, especially when you have points and everything, you never, even when you clip back the point, the area around the point and that, you never quite get it.
Yeah, it's hard to get a
nice crisp point.
Yeah.
So for the size of this, it doesn't take me any time to bind it. So I just bound it in the way that you would bind it if you were doing a quilt. And that's how I do most of my table runners, is like that. It's a little, I suppose, a little bit more time because you got to make binding for it, and then you have to sew it onto the back and pull it over the front. But I think it gives a nicer finish than the pulling it through inside out kind of a deal. So I did that. And now this next one, Walter named this one. I had a different name for it. I don't know why I made this. I guess the other day on Sewing with Stephen, I hadn't planned to do this, but I did an experiment on a couple of blocks. I thought, I wonder what would happen if I took some orphan blocks, chopped them up into weird angles, and then sewed pieces around and back together. And I tried that, and didn't float my boat. But while I had my orphan block box out, I thought, well, why don't we just start sewing stuff? I sort of needed a palette cleanser. So I did. And this is what I came up with. And this, I was going to call this the Sketchy Mess quilt, but Walter thought it was more aptly named. He calls it the Crap Quilt. So it is the Crap Quilt. And it's just orphan blocks that I just started sewing together, and then I cut them off until I got a big enough piece that I could put my 12.5-inch square ruler on, and I'd cut them out. And then I thought, for something different, why not put it on point? So that's what I did with the black inset triangles. I had thought of actually embroidering on those. Now I did. It doesn't show up very well, but on each of the blocks that are in there, I did throw them on my embroidery machine before I sewed them all together and embroidered over top of them with a sort of a quilting design.
You didn't do it well.
No, I didn't, because it couldn't get them, because they're too big for my hoops. Like they're square, and I can't get them in, and you can't the way the thing. And I didn't care because I just want to add in. Some of these had sort of blank negative spaces on them. So I just threw it down. I didn't think about any of this. As far as I thought about it was that I was going to put it on point, And you'll notice I have a gnome at the top. I didn't cut him up or do anything. And then there's a car with cats in it at the bottom. And, these were just all weird pieces that I had experimented on over time. I think the black makes it really pop on that angle. And then I thought, let's get crazy. Let's see what's in my stash. So I had this wild colored fabric sitting
It
in there.
almost sort of looks that 70s look.
Yeah, that's got that 70s look to it. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that was my plan. But this was actually cut-offs from wide back fabric that I must have put on the back of a quilt at some point in time. So I just thought, well, what the hell, throw it on. So I am going to put it on Lucy. And I don't know, I think I might just do sort of a wavy, swirly kind of quilting thing to it. I'm not going to get real worried about how that turns out. This is a worry-free quilt. You just slapdash. Maybe that's what I should have called it. Slapdash quilt instead of crap quilt. But of course, when Walter names something...
No, I just said short for scrap.
Crap. Okay. Scrap, crap, quilt. Crap, scrap, quilt. There's a crap, scrap, quilt. That's what we'll call it. Crap, scrap, quilt. So yeah, and I'm going to maybe... I'll just do edge-to-edge design. I mean, I know I could go in and do each block, but why? Because there's already embroidery on here from other pieces, plus a little bit that I did on top of those blocks. And I'm just going to do maybe a relatively dense but open design. I'm thinking swirls, just swirls, wavies across, or maybe little swirls that go around like that, that kind of thing. I don't know. We'll see. And it might end up being one of my favorite quilts, because oftentimes my scrappy quilts that are just a mess turn out to be ones that I kind of find the most interesting. And what will I do with it afterward? Oh, I don't know. Put it in a bag somewhere. But it's a great way to get rid of your orphan blocks and your scrap pieces. And it's a great thing too. You have those moods where I'm in between projects and I don't feel like I really want to get started immediately into another project, and I need to use up my scraps and crap and oh, what the heck, just sew. I just want to sew something just for the fun of it. So that was what my end result was. I'll show it to you when I get it finally done on Lucy and everything, whenever that will be. Maybe next week. I'm trying to keep ahead of my pile for Lucy, because so far that's the only thing I have that needs to be quilted by Lucy. I'm caught up on all my UFOs, and I'm trying to stay that way, because it gets overwhelming. You start looking at them all hanging up over by Lucy, and you go, I should do those. And they add up and they add up and they add up. But of course, if I had somebody that was keen on doing the quilting for me because they want to learn about the machine and do all that stuff, then I wouldn't have to worry about that. Yeah. Your people, my people, they'll talk, they'll have lunch, they'll never solve anything. Okay, so that's what I've been up to. So announcements. Sewing with me on Wednesdays. Walter makes a candid appearance every now and then. But, it's sort of like, where's Waldo? Where's Walter? Where's Wally?
I always have other things to do.
I don't know what it is. Staring at your computer screen.
No, and snow shoveling or something else. Or
I'm sure you're going through withdrawal.
I seem to get
busy doing nothing. Tied up. Oh, well, enough about your kinky habits. So Wednesdays, links in the show notes. Pop-up sew day, advance warning, couple of weeks time, February the 21st, Saturday, February 21st. Watch that week before that Saturday for the announcements and the links for all of that. And of course, I'll be sending out an email to those of you on my mailing list. Russ, though, is having, Russ from Quilt Meets World, is having a Sewing Shenanigans Day this coming Sunday. And if you're interested in being part of that, then go to his channel, Quilt Meets World, and he's got the links for it in his show notes and everything going on there. I did something I have not done in a long time. I did it yesterday. Yes, yesterday, last night, and it went up today. Some of you may have already seen it by the time you see this. I had an interview with someone. Well, someone is Brian Parks. Brian Parks has a YouTube channel called Parks Crafty Creations. He is not so much of a quilter. He is a garment sewer and a costume maker. He does really fun work, and he's very informative. His videos are extremely professional. We talked about that. He comes from a graphic arts design background, and he knows how to use all the tools for editing. Not like me. I don't edit. I told him that when we were doing the interview. He says, "Okay, I don't edit, but if there's something here you don't want me to put in, then tell me to stop, and then we'll pick it up and I'll cut it out." But everything went fine. He was a little concerned that he may have stuttered a little bit here and there. Now, I didn't notice any of that, and I don't think he meant that he has a stutter. He meant, like, how when you're speaking, you are lost for words or whatever. Pregnant pauses, I like to call those. They never bother me, and I'm sure you know that. You've seen it. But I said, yeah, life's too short. I can't spend it on editing. And to be honest, I don't like the editing process. I like to get it up there, do it and beyond, and go beyond it. You're done with it. Put it in the back burner. Move on to something new. But anyways, he did a brilliant job on there. And yeah, so check out his channel. It's Parks Crafty Creations. I do have a link to the interview in the show notes below, so if you haven't seen it yet, well, I just got it up this morning. Check it out. And when you go and check out that interview, you will find in the show notes for the interview all of his social media links. And he has an Etsy store as well. He sells some of his things too. So yeah, do check him out and let him know if you go to his channel and you subscribe to him. Help him out. Subscribe. He's only been doing this for about a year, at least for the channel. He's been sewing since about 2017, I believe. So do check that out and let him know that you found him because of the interview. I know he would be thrilled with that. Okay, so today's topic comes from Jeannie Allen, and Jeannie Allen wrote this to us. Hi, Stephen and Walter. How about a topic suggesting interesting challenges for quilters that spark creativity? Sometimes it seems I see the same old challenges offered. What might be interesting? Well, I got doing some investigating of this, as I do. And I think what Jeannie might be referring to is what I just mentioned. Sometimes you get bored or blocked, and you just don't know what to do next. You want to do something, but you don't know what it is, and you don't want to do the same old, but at the same time, you might be afraid of trying out something really radically brand new that may be outside of your comfort zone. And you should try things outside of your comfort zone because that's how you learn, and you usually find, and Brian and I talked about this yesterday too during the interview, that oftentimes when you think outside of your own box, you find something that you first thought you could never do and find out it's not that scary and you can do it. He was talking about how he got into clothing, sewing. He didn't think that he could make a shirt, and he just decided to give it a go and watched went to the University of YouTube and put it together and realized, hey, this isn't that hard. I know. I've made a shirt. Walter showed me how. Yeah, wasn't that hard. I made it.
It's a little more time consuming
than
you realize.
I didn't like doing it. Yeah, I'd rather quilt. But everybody has their rathers. So yeah, so I thought, okay, well, let's explore this. And I found a whole bunch of stuff about this. And I'm just going to throw my notes up here, if I find them. And my notes are right here. And here we go. So the first thing I found had to do with material and what they call material and texture challenges. And some of these things you've probably heard of before, and you may have attempted some of these. I have attempted some of these in the past. Unconventional materials. Incorporate at least 25% non-fabric items like plastic, wire, wood, or paper into a small quilt. Obviously, if you're going to do that, this is not going to be a cozy quilt for wrapping up in or putting on your bed. This is probably more of an art quilt for the wall, that kind of thing. But this appeals to me to a certain extent because this is what I used to do when I was a paper crafter. We called it mixed media, mixed collage kind of a thing. They
Yeah, but
say,
you don't usually do that stuff these days with
no,
your,
I don't do that anymore, but maybe I should return to that. Modern quilters and fiber artists often break away from traditional quilting cotton to incorporate high texture industrial or found materials. Now, we always think that we have to make a quilt out of quilting cotton, and I am one of those people. But even if you don't want to put like wire or plastic in it, exploring other types of fibers like linen.
yeah,
Um,
like was somebody we know on your channel, Lydia.
yeah,
She did a quilt and used linen in it.
yeah, she used linen, and it came out really nice. Silk. Um, so some of the non-traditional quilting types of fabric, Japanese fabrics. Um,
T-shirt quilt.
well, yeah, t-shirt quilts. Yeah, well, I don't like t-shirt quilts myself for many reasons, but I know that some people do. But the idea is, fabrics, depending on which ones they are, have different properties for sewing. Like when you make clothes, if you hit something that's stretchy,
Yeah, that could be a problem for quilters if you hit a stretchy fabric. That's why t-shirt quilts, they suggest you put
interfacing.
interfacing, like non-stretchy interfacing on
Yeah.
the back of t-shirts so that it will quilt properly. And you may have to do things like that to make sure stabilize your fabric or whatever you're using to allow it to quilt properly.
Yeah. Now, another thing you can incorporate too, and I know there are many people I know that come on, several people who make tote bags and things like that on my sewing days. They are exploring the wonderful world of pleather
Yeah.
and real leather too. And you could incorporate leather or pleather into a quilt. Um, I think you'd want to do it in small quantities. But then there are people who make quilts out of denim. They take
Yeah.
old jeans and cut them up. I mean,
The
they're
only
heavy.
problem, yeah, the only problem with that is it makes the quilt really heavy.
Well, yeah, but I have seen lots of examples of they. I'm not that interested in those because it's the look of them I don't like. But you get very imaginative with it. If you've got a couple of pairs of old jeans, not just use the actual material in it, but use the pockets to put. I know that some people make what do they call it, fidget quilts and things like that, and if they will take the pockets off of old clothing and incorporate them into some of the blocks. These are ones that kind of go to nursing homes and things like that. People that or children, people who have dementia. It helps. Excuse me, or sneezing. Um, like that you put little things in the pocket or something, and it's something to play with. You have zippers. You've got the fly in jeans. You could use the zipper in there. It might be really interesting to see what you could come up with.
Wouldn't this become more of an art quilt when you're
Yes,
doing this?
yeah, but they actually do make fidget quilts this way
Yeah.
too, out of incorporate different things into them. So, but yeah, it could be you could make a really interesting art quilt. Oh, I'm getting ideas right there. It would be a bit of a challenge because you're using stuff that's not what you usually think of, but I think it'd be not that hard to incorporate some of that. The labels off of a pair of jeans in there too. That's lots of things you could do. So they talk about found objects and household waste. Repurposing everyday items adds a personal environmental narrative to the quilt. So household items like old stationery, game pieces like playing cards or pawns, and broken electronic wires. Okay, this is the stuff I used to use when I did art journaling and collage work. This would be really stretching my creative juices here to figure out how to put those kind of things into something that we're going to call a quilt. However, if you think of it as an art quilt, and if you think of it as something that's not really going to go in the washing machine regularly, or if at all, and it's something you want to put on the wall, then yeah, I think you could have some fun with that. Think of it as a sculpture almost in fabric. Recycled packaging, like plastic grocery bags fused together for structure, coffee bags, orange nets. Okay, I'm having a hard time with this. Trying to.
Yeah.
I don't have any hard time with that thinking about from the art journaling days, but thinking it from a quilting point of view. But maybe that's the whole point. It's a challenge.
There's a thing here about tea towels.
Where?
Down at the bottom.
Oh, what, in studio
Yeah,
leftovers?
yeah. Remember you made that quilt out
Oh,
of all the
yes.
Australian tea towels?
Yes, when I first got into quilting, it was just before we went on our first trip or second trip. I think it was the first
Yeah.
trip to Australia. And I was collecting tea towels from many of the places we went to, because you know how the obligatory gift shops at things you go to, museums and stuff like that. So I'd be buying tea towels. I never thought about that these are made from a heavy linen, rented lips, linen. And I didn't really think about the weight. So I did a quilt, my first Australian quilt, and the sucker's heavy, but I had a lot of tea towels left over, so I decided to back it with tea. I made a second quilt and put the two quilts together. This sucker will flatten you. I mean, if you like a weighted blanket, well, this is a weighted blanket at the most extreme. Um, in my mind, I was thinking at the time, because I had just sort of got into quilting, that this was sort of an extension of, like, instead of doing scrapbooks about my trip, I would do a memory quilt based on the tea towels that had, you know, the name of different places we were at and that kind of thing. It can be done. Just beware. It's going to weigh a ton. Really heavy. And what else did they suggest? Thread scraps. Okay, thread scraps. I've tried it. I saw something on YouTube. Again, this was in my early days of quilting. Where are we keeping you up? What? You have
Yeah,
to check
no,
your
no, no, no.
messages? What?
I'm just checking the weather. Go ahead, keep going.
Attention span of an artichoke. Um, where I saw that you took all your leftover thread, and I was saving thread, okay, from my embroidery machine, especially the cutoffs from it. I still do sort of until I throw them out because they're kind of pretty. Um, but you laid them all on with some fabric and whatnot, and you piled them all up on top of this, and then you put one method was to use organza, and you put a piece of organza over the top of it, and then you just sewed the bejesus out of it, like zigzags up and down all around everything, like sort of like free motion quilting, but not all over it. And that would hold them all down. Or you could use a water soluble, like sulky, is one of the names of a brand of this, and put that down, do the same thing, and then wash it away. I tried it. It works. You get an interesting effect. Um, but I don't do it anymore. I did it
I mean,
once.
there's also people that like do thread painting and
Well,
stuff like
that's a
that.
little different though. But yeah, that's another thing, you know, you want to attempt. You know, the threads come in all sizes and all colors, you know, and everything like that. I have never tried thread painting,
I
but
mean, there's people that have done like portraits of
mm,
people and used thread painting to, you know, put facial features on
yeah.
and stuff like that.
And actually, the more I think of that idea, the more I see how that could work. Because when I first experienced or first saw thread painting, I was only a beginner and it was intimidating. But now I don't know if I'd be so intimidated, or I just don't care. Oh, what comes out? See crappy quilt above. Yeah, for that. Dyed cheesecloth. I have tried that. Bits of mylar or melted CDs. Okay, mylar I have used in some quilts, the wall quilts. Melted CDs.
I think that would be
Hmm.
difficult to sew.
Well, I don't think you'd be able to sew them.
No.
You'd break your needle. I guess you could glue them
Yeah.
or punch holes in them somehow. You could punch holes in it and then sort of sew, you know, sew them in by hand or something. I don't know.
I don't know if again, it's not really a comfortable quilt.
No, this is all of these ideas that here I think lend themselves more to like extreme art quilts,
Yeah.
sculptures, textile sculptures. So then they talk about industrial and technical materials. These materials introduce architectural elements or modern flair. Hardware store finds, metal washers, stamped with alcohol inks. I have done that, but again, it was in my art journaling days. And you have to use alcohol-based inks because anything else will just wipe off the washers, but the alcohol ink will actually stay permanent. Mesh screen, bolts, and plumbing tubing. Again, not sure how realistic that is in.
Yeah, you'd have to be pretty imaginative and bold to do stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and watch out, break your
I
needle.
mean, I think a lot of people end up regular quilters end up just doing regular patterns type of thing, and I think they start getting bold when they start using different materials.
Yeah, and I think everything so far that we've talked about here lends themselves to fiber arts
Yeah.
more so than just like putting it as a quilt. They're really not quilts that they're talking
No.
about here. Synthetic specialty fibers, heat distorted Tyvek for a bubble texture, Angelina fiber, and Avalon, a non-woven polyester with a suede-like finish. Angelina fibers, I used to have some of those. I don't anymore. They look like, if you remember the old days of angel hair they used to throw on Christmas trees. Now that was spun fiberglass or glass strands, whatever. That's not what Angelina fibers are. They're a polyester, and they are but they have the texture of angel hair, and they melt when you put a little heat on them. And again, this is something I came across when I was working on art journals and things like that. My local craft store sold those, and there's lots of things you could do with them. But and I could see you using those in an art piece, an art quilt. Integrated tech. Okay, LED lights and conductive fibers for smart quilts that glow or change color. There is a type of thread-like product you can get that is a conductive fiber. And what it means is you can run basically battery electricity, very low battery electricity, through it so that you can put things on it like little LED lights or stuff, and they'll light up. Now, you know, a company that incorporates this into their kits a lot of times is Kimberbell. Kimberbell has a couple of quilt patterns and some bench pillows where you can get an add-on kit which includes the little lights and things, and they give you instructions on how to incorporate them into the finished product. But Kimberbell stuff tends to be very pricey too. So I have never really done a Kimberbell project because most of the stuff I see is, okay, this sounds insulting, but juvenile. It's all cutesy. And I don't do a lot of cutesy.
There's also that like I bought one of these things, but I haven't used it yet. Is those heat set rhinestones?
Oh, yeah, you
Yeah,
mean Bedazzler.
yeah. So you could
Ooh,
add little bits of glisten to some of your
yeah.
quilts.
Glisten.
You know, like
Glitter.
a little glitter
Yeah,
or
look at.
whatever. And in me, you know, I mean, you could do it a lot, and it gets really bedazzled, or you could do it just, you know, like in little parts of
Yeah.
it to give it a little bit of a shine.
Well, I know there are some people who do beading
Yeah.
in the quilts too, with that kind of thing. So, yeah, there's all that kind of thing. Non-traditional textiles. Using apparel fabrics provides diverse textile experiences. Well, that's what we're talking about already.
Yeah.
Corduroy, velvet, wool, felt, even mushroom leather. I have no idea what mushroom leather is. I don't know. Is that a dried out old mushroom? I don't know what mushroom leather is. There's a link, but I'm not going to click on it because it may not work. Organic and upcycled. Mulberry bark, silk cocoons, vintage tea towels, or curtain samples.
Well, you know, we've seen before where somebody's doing like a more of a pictorial, like a tree or something like that, and then they've used other types of material in like the tree trunk and stuff like
Yeah,
that
that's
to
true.
make it look more tree trunky like.
More tree trunky like. Yeah, so that, yeah. So got some pictures here based on what we just looked at, and let's put these up. So in Google here, I just did an image search, and that's not the right one. There we go. Examples of unconventional materials used in quilts. So here's your glitz and glam. And they use beads and sequins and things in that one. Quilt with a found and recycled fabric, according to Chris English. Okay, Chris English, you may be familiar with him. He is British. He's a friend of Kate Jackson, who's the last homely house,
Last one again.
and she loves his stuff. He makes all of his quilts out of bits and pieces of scrap and recycled fabrics and things like that. And to be honest, his style isn't my style, because now this is one of his better ones, I think, because some of his stuff looks like garbage. Well, you get an idea of it here. Some of it just, of course, then again, it's kind of what I'm doing, isn't it? So I guess I'm making a garbage quilt. But he uses some really beat up old fabrics in them and the whole bit. But when it's all put together, it's really very interesting. Let's say talk here about quilt found. Oh, this one I saw. I thought this was interesting. It's all recycled materials, but it's the textures and the way it's all put together as a collage. And it looks like she's got different pieces that she was putting together. So there's a whole article here about this, but I think that one's kind of neat as an art quilt. And if you like doing a lot of stitching, like decorative stitching, free motion quilting, that kind of thing, thread painting too, and this kind of thing might appeal to you. So anyways, there's lots of examples of found art, of unconventional materials. You just do a search like I did in Google Images, and you're going to find maybe things that will inspire you with all of this. Okay, let me go back here to us. So what's that take us to? Oh, got to get my notes back up. That's not my notes. Notes. Okay, where are my notes? Oh, talk among yourselves.
Actually, I think that is your notes.
That's my notes. That's not my notes. I have like my PDF. Well, shoot.
Is there a back button?
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's Mac computers. They love to give you little icons that mean nothing to you. Okay, so that takes us down to some other ideas they have, like the ugly fabric swap. Participants exchange 1 yard of their most disliked fabric. The challenge is to make it the centerpiece of a beautiful design. Well, you know, one person's ugly is another person's beautiful. So
yeah, I know, like you got, let's say you opened the Missouri Star quilt box this year, and they had a small charm pack in there.
Yeah.
But the color that were in it were ones that you didn't like.
Yeah.
But other people that opened up the boxes loved the colors.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. So, you know, what you call is ugly may not be. In fact, 2 Christmases ago, I had a whole bunch of squares, a charm pack, or no, it was a bundle actually. I bought a fat quarters at some quilt store in the early fall, and they were
tulip pink.
Tulip pink. Yeah, tulip pink. I didn't really look at them that closely or feel them. Turned out,
yeah, go ahead.
They were flannel.
Yeah, and they were
ugly.
They were ugly.
So I just decided to sew all the squares together, just, you know, doing a large patchwork kind of a thing. I wasn't worried about doing any kind of design, and I called it the Ugly Quilt. And my idea was to give it to our niece for her dog, for a dog blanket. Now, I made her another quilt, but what I considered a regular nice quilt out of nice fabric that was pleasing to the eye, at least to my eye. And so I gave her these 2 quilts, and I said, okay, the ugly one is for Freddie. Freddie's her dog. Well, she turned around, and I don't know if I should be insulted by this or I should feel it's a compliment. She said, I didn't know which one was ugly, so I kept both of them. Okay. Does that mean that the one that I spent a long time on and that was the nice
no,
fabric?
I think you gave her the 2. It wasn't that she had a choice between the 2.
No.
She said that
I told her the ugly one is for Freddie, her dog.
Yeah.
It's a dog bed. But I didn't really say to her, yeah, this is the nice one, that's for you, and this is the ugly one, this is for Freddie. I just gave her the 2 quilts and said, okay, the ugly one's for Freddie, because I just assumed she'd look at it and go, oh yeah, that's ugly. But she didn't. So I guess it was a compliment. She thought both were nice. But here's the irony of all
Either
of
that or
this.
she thought both was ugly.
Well, that could be. That was the other thing, but I choose not to think of it that way. But here's the irony in all of this. I'm showing the ugly quilt online here, and I said it was tulip pink fabrics, and I said I don't remember what the fabrics were called. I don't think I
I
even
think it was
looked.
called ugly
It
sweater
was
fabric.
called Ugly Sweater, and she had created it tongue in cheek. It was meant to be ugly because it was for Christmas sweaters, the ugly Christmas sweater thing. And I went, oh, I get it now. Sometimes you should read the label. But yeah, so I have made an ugly quilt with you ugly fabrics, at least what I thought was ugly. So they talk about upcycling challenge, create a quilt using only repurposed textiles such as old clothing, linens, or denim. Um, I have an aversion to this because I know there are people who make quilts. They go to charity shops and they'll buy, there may be a partially completed quilt in the pile or an older quilt, or they find bed sheets with nice patterns on them, or old clothing and stuff like that. I, I have a thing about that. I don't want somebody else's used stuff, dirty stuff. Now, it isn't dirty because at these charity shops, from what I know, is they wash everything when it comes
Well,
in.
or you can wash it yourself.
Well, I could wash it myself too and everything, but I don't know. There's still something creepy in my way of thinking. I mean, maybe I'm just a little prissy, but about it. Stop it. Roll your eyes. Um, but so I've never really done that, although it sounds like a good idea. So I found some pictures of what they're talking about. So, okay, we talked about denim. Well, here's one. And this is one of those ones they think they call them a rag quilt or whatever. They leave the edges unfinished in it, so it all unravels and you put it in the washing machine. Personally, I don't like that look. I like a nice crisp lines, but they've got a lot of denim ones on here too. I think that's what a lot of people think of first thing when they think of using other fabrics. They think of denim. Here's an easy jean quilt. It's not going anywhere. Oh, that might be a video or something. Now here's something. I've never done it, but I've thought about it. Simple thing is just taking a block, make a block and frame it. Art, instant art. And somebody that I was listening to the other day, it's one of the ladies that comes on my sew days on Wednesday. She has just moved into her parents' home. She bought it, and she's getting her sewing room together. And she said she want to put things like this kind of thing up on her walls, and there's part of her decor to make them, because she had a lot of orphan blocks and things like that. And actually, that would work with orphan blocks. I just don't have wall space for all that kind of thing. But if you know somebody that would appreciate textile art, and you could incorporate your beads and your bedazzler in these, you could make something really kind of cool with it. What else I got here? Most of this is all denim. Here you go, pocket. That's why I was talking about incorporating elements from.
You could make a bag out of denim too and leave the pockets on it.
Yeah, you could. Then instant pocket. Looks like a lot of these are denim, rag quilts, things like that. But there's lots of things too. Now, this reminds me of something that, remind me when we get near the end to show an art piece, my fiber textile art piece that I made before I was a quilter, but it kind of incorporates many of these ideas that we're talking about. Okay, so let's go back. Okay, so now they talk about color and design constraints. Limited palette. Create a quilt using only 3 specific colors chosen at random, such as from 3 randomly selected crayons or paint swatches. I know there are a lot of people that do this kind of thing. Chris from
Chris O'Neill?
No, Rose Garden
Oh,
Creations. Yeah. He's a AccuQuilt ambassador, And he does something called a community quilt. And I believe what he does is he pulls he's got like fabric, color, and technique or something like that, and he pulls one thing out of each one of these bags, and that's his challenge for the block. And eventually all the blocks get put together into one quilt, which is kind of interesting if you like mystery, because it would definitely be a mystery. And if you can handle the fact that you might pull some stuff that at first glance you're going to go, I can't do anything with that. Of course, there's nothing saying you can't repull with it too. But I mean, it's a way to stimulate your imagination more than anything. And a limited palette. You know, I think sometimes I do anyways. I want to use every color in the rainbow in a quilt. And sometimes less is more, really, when it comes to this. Like limiting yourself to 3 colors. And I like the idea of just pulling crayons, random, or paint swatches. Or go to your local paint store or something and grab a handful of the different paint swatches and then shuffle them like a set of cards, pull one out and go, okay, these are the colors I'm going to use in this quilt, nothing else. See how that works out. Never tried it. Thought about it, but never tried it. And there's some examples of this kind of thing here. So these are using only 3 colors. I question this one. I think it's pretty. But I guess what they mean by 3 colors, it's using yellow, orange. Well, it's got more than 3
Yeah,
colors.
it's all kinds of shades and stuff like that. So.
Of that. But it's pretty. I kind of like it. What's this one? I guess that's just 3 colors. White and 2, a dark blue and a lighty blue or printed blue. I guess you can take poetic license with this. If anything, it might be a good way. It would be more economical maybe, because you're only going to buy 3 fabrics, depending on the size. Here's a good example. Sort of a study in reds and pinks. And it almost looks gradient the way they've done it. So I suppose there's lots to pick from. This one's using, okay, it's got white and it's got blue and it's got a print that has a predominant blue in it, but that print, they're sneaking in some other colors in the print. They're cheating.
Okay, maybe it's 3 fabrics.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. That's a 3-yard quilt pattern, it says. Here's another one.
Which it is sort of 3 color, but there's gradients in these other fabrics.
Well, they've got prints
in
it, a variety of prints too. But I suppose it's a starting point. You know, if you're because you can get overwhelmed with your colors. I mean, look at some of the women that you go into, or some of the people, I shouldn't just say women, men too. You go into a quilt shop and there'll be somebody standing there for 5 minutes just staring at the shelves of fabric. They're not moving. It's like they're dead. They've been petrified in there because they're overwhelmed. They're looking and go, I want a green. Oh my God, there's 20 greens.
But I want the perfect green.
I want the perfect green. Well, I've been that route. Haven't I? Yes. My sister's table runner.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. And my hairdresser's table runner. Sage and aubergine.
Turns out when you gave it to her, she didn't really know.
She didn't realize that I used the colors that she mentioned to me. Yeah, okay, that's a story for another day. I'm not bitter. But anyways, let's move on, shall we? So, hyper-modern color blocking. A top 2026 trend. I don't know how it's top. We haven't got through 2026 yet. This challenge focuses on bold, solid colors and minimal patterns to create high-impact geometric designs. Well, now we're moving into the modern quilt concept, because that is something that a modern quilt might do. The color blocking and using, really bold colors in it. Now, this one I am very confused about. I mean, if you have a mathematic background or an art background, you might understand this. It's called the Golden Ratio Challenge. Design a quilt where every block and border follow the golden ratio, 1.618, to explore the mathematical balance in art. Well, I looked this up, what this is, and I still don't know. This is the golden ratio. And it's made up of circles and swirls and rectangles and diagonal lines and things like that. And they say designers everywhere should know about the golden ratio. It's a mathematical ratio that creates aesthetically pleasing designs. Since the golden ratio exists so frequently in nature, it's not a surprise that its results are natural looking. So here they've done a line drawing of what this is. So in my mind, what you're doing is you're going from very, very tiny, and you follow around in the spiral, and they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. But I'm not sure. I don't know what this line means. Is this how you figure out the proportion?
I'm not sure either.
Is this the number, this 1.618 or whatever? Here's an example in nature. And then they've got, this was I didn't read this whole article because
It sounds a little complicated.
that's what I thought. See, they've got this math. Here's your math. You've got your A on a square, and then you've got a rectangle, which is a B, an A, but then you've got A plus B here. All right, so what? And it says the golden ratio is a number that's kind of equal to 1.618, just like pi is approximately equal to 3.14, but not exactly. Okay, this tells me a lot. It's sort of like, sort of not. You take a line and divide it into two parts, a long part A and a short part B. A long part A, a short part B. Okay. The entire length, A plus B, divided by A, is equal to A divided by B. And both those numbers equal 1.618. So A plus B divided by A equals 1.618, and A divided by B also equals 1.618. So what? Wow! I don't understand. And then it gets even more crazy. So I don't know. I am sure there are people out there that are mathematicians and you know all about this. And God help you. I don't know how this will work in your quilting. I really don't. The only thing I would say is get rid of this spiral line in here and design a quilt around this, almost like a log cabin. Two squares that are small, equal in size. So say two 2-inch squares. Add to them another square that covers your A plus B. Maybe that's what they mean by the A plus B. And then this line is A plus
sit
B.
here and try and speculate.
And I have no idea mathematically. Now, I am sure somebody who's a mathematician out there is going to write me a whole big long explanation in the comment section. And by all means, if you've got the time to do that, you do it. I'm not going to promise I'll still understand it any better.
To me, it looks like it's one large piece, and then this side here, right?
Well, it's a square and a rectangle.
Yeah, square and a rectangle.
See, this thing's a rectangle.
And this is a square and a rectangle.
And this is a rectangle.
And this is a square and
a rectangle. And it goes down from there. Yeah. Okay. And I guess you start at the center and work your way out, which is what the spiral.
The spiral just draws a line inside that.
Okay, now when we explain it that way, this might make an interesting quilt.
Yeah.
It could be fun.
Like, I mean, you could take the spiral away from that.
Yeah.
Right? But as you can see, they're all rectangles.
Yeah.
With a square and a
And they have rectangle. A proportion, and that's where the A and the B came. Yeah. So this is a square, so both of these sides are A's. This is a rectangle. So this is a B, and this is an A. I don't know, they didn't mark it. Okay. So this A plus B is the whole length of that, what you start with.
Right.
And then
within this, there's an A and a B. And within that one, there's an A and a B. And within this one, there's an A and a B. And with this little tiny one is an A and a B.
Nobody can see what
No, I know that. Okay,
But anyways, so...
Where's your mouse? I can't. Okay, here.
You having trouble with the magic mouse?
No. Okay, so this is an A. It's a square.
The square.
Then this part is a B. It's a rectangle. Forget about the other lines, right? And then within this rectangle, there is another rectangle, which is a square.
But it's opposite.
Rectangle. Yeah,
it's
which is opposite, yeah.
And the proportions of this, there must be something, this must be a ratio to the size of this.
Yeah, which is that 1.68,
yeah.
Right? And then go down even further, this part here is another one where it's a square and a rectangle. And this smaller one again is divided again into a square and a rectangle. And then the very smallest one is a square and a rectangle.
But I wonder that number, maybe that you have to use that 1.6 number to, so if this is the A and B, A, B added together,
yeah,
and then they had a mathematical formula, it gives you the proportions, how each one of these would fit together, because it's just not randomly done. It's math. Oh God, it's quilt math. Quilt math hard. Okay, well, that's a challenge. Actually, it's making me think. I mean, at first I was very confused.
Then they've drawn the spiral within that. Too.
Yeah, just to show you the direction.
Yeah.
I would say, or how it's going down. At first I thought maybe you had to do curves. No. But no. Okay. Maybe worth exploring further. All right. Let's get back.
I think a lot of your quilt blocks end up falling into that anyway.
Yeah, it's probably something that's, well, they say it's in nature all the time, so we are in nature, so yeah, maybe. But anyways, interesting. Then they go on. Monochromatic textures. Use only one color but incorporate multiple fabric types, silk, velvet, corduroy, to create depth without color variation. Well, that's an interesting idea. But here you're getting now into non-quilting cotton kind of things. But you could also do this with staying in with quilting cotton, but, you know, patterns and colors give texture. So, you know, you could do something all in blues, but you could find things that had like a pattern that lends it texture, a solid, and maybe something that's more straight line kind of pattern in it, like a print, straight line, and a solid, something like that. I know some people organize their scraps by color, so that might be interesting. Go into, you know, your blue drawer and pull out blues, make your blue, be like Picasso, have your blue period. Okay, thematic and narrative challenges. I heard it on vinyl. Now here are things that I think are more like workable than some of these other ones, or more readily workable. Select a song from a classic record and interpret its rhythm, lyrics, or mood into a quilt design.
I heard it through the grapevine.
I heard it through. So that would be all done in parallels. So here we go. Sound of Music quilt. So that was their inspiration, I guess. I'm not sure what they did, why these blocks are there, if they were supposed to mean something. I don't know. You know, I'm thinking of temperature quilts, how the different colors of blocks represent different temperatures, and how it, you know, if you go gradient, you know, the cooler colors at the bottom for lower temperatures, warmer colors and up for higher temperatures, and then you do one strip for each day in the year and you keep it like that. It has no appeal to me because I'd never be able to keep up with it. Let's see, do they have another obvious example? What's this one? 27 different music fabrics. Oh, so in this case, it wasn't so much based on a song as that they found novelty fabrics that had some representation of like a musical instrument or something on it. Kind of interesting. I like that. They literally did a keyboard border, piano key border. I'm just looking here to see if they've got anything. This Valley song keeps coming up all the time. I don't know what that is. What's a Valley song? The Summer Nights version, lo and behold, don't know. I think that they're just calling a name and Google picked it up. And there's another like literal translation. Go, Bargello music quilt pattern. Okay.
Well, I think they're going literally about music or records or whatever.
Whereas, obviously records.
Whereas maybe you listen to the words of your favorite song and it inspires you to do a quilt.
Yeah, that's what I had in my mind. Was more that kind of thing.
Or you could do that with a book too.
Yes, you can make a literary quilt. So they have here, literal to abstract. Take a photograph of a local landmark and create two quilts, one literal representation and one completely abstract interpretation. That's interesting, and I think that would be more appealing to people that have the ability to be able to draw or to paint, that kind of thing. I could not see myself doing that because I can't draw or paint. Um, so I don't think I would do very well now, but it's an idea. The culture of giving. Reader challenge focused on creating a mug rug 6x9 intended specifically as a small gift to spark joy for others. Well, people do this all the time. If you go to a retreat or something and people bring gifts, there's always somebody or several people who have made little mug rugs like that might have something to do with the name of the retreat or the year of the retreat, or if the retreat had a name or something like that, and they give them out as gifts to everybody. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just a fun thing. Processing community challenges, 100-day challenge. This one's been done to death. Every year, at the first of the year, someone's doing a 100-day challenge. Complete one quilt block every day for 100 days to build technical consistency and creative momentum. Okay, here's the problem with a 100-day challenge. I think a lot of people started out with the best intentions, but for the number that actually complete it, I think is much smaller. And I would be one of the ones that wouldn't complete that because life gets in the way. You might have a good intention of doing a block. Like I thought of doing this once and going through Barbara Breckman's book that we talked about the other week, the Encyclopedia of Quilts, and, you know, picking 100 blocks from that and doing them or whatever, or just going through and finding 100 traditional blocks or something one a day. But, you know, that takes time. And then if you get behind on this, if you're really sticking to 100 days, you're going to get overwhelmed. And you know what happens when you get overwhelmed? You get frustrated and you say, screw it. And it goes into a pile in the corner. But there are people, though, that have much more, I guess, what do you call it? Perseverance? Discipline? Self-discipline that could do that kind of thing. Mystery quilt along. I hate mystery quilts. Follow weekly instruction clues without knowing what the final design will look like until the very end. And that's why I hate mystery quilts. I hate mystery quilts like I hate surprises. I like to be prepared. I want to know what that quilt's going to look like at the end before I start it because I want to pick the proper colors out. Mm-hmm. This is coming from a guy that just made a crap quilt. Okay.
Yeah, well, I could see that because you kind of really want to know what your end result's going to be.
Well, I cheat. I've done a couple of mystery quilts, and what I did was, it was through my local quilt store, and like that one that's on the wall behind our bed, that was a mystery quilt. And no. I bought the kit with all the fabrics in it, but it didn't have the pattern. You had to wait each month, and you worked on it.
I bet you read the end of a novel first.
No, I never do. That's something I don't do. I don't do that. But I can't stand it. I want to make sure I'm not making a mistake along the way. So I scoured the internet and I found the bloody pattern. And so I saw the end result and I knew where it was going. Someone accused me of doing it and I lied. I did not. I don't know. I'm just intuitive. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink, say no more about it. But no, they drive me mad. UFO, unfinished object. UFO fire. Participants ante up a small fee for each unfinished project. Those who finish their projects by a deadline get their money back and a chance at a raffle prize. Many guilds do this kind of thing, which is fun with it. But, or there's ones that come out every year, and I haven't seen them yet, but I'm sure somewhere out there people are coming up with the UFO planning page. You know, they have this printout and it's got, you know, the date you started it, the date you finished it, or all this kind of stuff. And you check it off. There's little boxes and things like that. And I've tried that technique and it doesn't work for me. It may work for other people. But although I have a very organized brain and I'm a very organized person, I found that was too... It was putting everything into a little cubby hole, a little compartment. And I don't really, my compartments have open doors. Everything spills over into the other compartment. I don't know if that made any sense, but that's how my brain works. It's organized, but it doesn't work with this. I've tried checklists all the time. I like checklists. I really do. On certain things to keep me track of what I want to get accomplished in a day. But to break one down for a UFO, and some of them get very detailed. about it. Or there's other ones too that do it for starting a quilt. You know, there's those planners. Haven't heard much about them this year. Maybe the planner idea is going out the window. I don't know. I've had a couple of planners with the greatest intention that I was going to try this. And, you know, they have pages where, you know, my color selection, you put in little swatches and dates, you self-imposed due dates. I'm going to have these number of blocks done by such and such and this, and it's all in a nice little, very pretty little booklet and lovely spiral binding to it and little flowers on the pictures, and you can even get stickers for it and this kind of stuff. Yeah, I tried that, didn't work because I didn't get past the first page. I went, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. That's a little bit too much for me. Round robin. Start a center block, pass it to a different person each month who adds their own border or elements until the quilt is returned to the original owner. Okay, heard of these. One of my friends has been involved in a round robin. I know she talked about some of the frustration about it, like people didn't stick to the dimensions if there were dimensions, and so when it got to the next person and they had to put those pieces together to carry on with it, they had to either put coping strips on it or trim it a bit, but some designs weren't trimmable because you'd be cutting off points. And you know, and also the thing is, not everybody sews an accurate 1/4 inch seam allowance. And so if you've got a couple of blocks that are out even by 1/8 of an inch or even a 1/16 of an inch, that compounds as you go on. Ask me how I know that. I learned that the hard way. So I have never been involved in a round robin, but I know guilds will do it. It's a great way to make community quilts for that kind of thing. The only problem with it too is if you're not all in the same community and you don't see each other on a regular basis. I know some people, they pack them up in a box and this box gets shipped to the next person. So somebody has to pay for the shipping. And you know what shipping's like these days, maybe in the days when it wasn't so bad. And they use the same box. I mean, the box in itself would be kind of interesting by the time you're done with the different stamps on it, been canceled out, and see the trip the box had went on. Or some put them in envelopes. The blocks in, you know, manila envelopes kind of a thing. Same idea as the box. But still, the more blocks that go in there, as time goes on, it would be best to be the first person in the round robin. It would cost you the least for shipping. It's the lightest. Poor person near the end, when they have to ship it to the person that's putting it all together with it or finishing it up, that one's going to cost you some money.
There. Yeah, I think it more loans itself to quilt guilds or something.
Yeah,
like
I think so.
Where people are present in the the area,
or your friends that you see on a regular basis, where you can do an exchange. With it. But it's still not a bad idea. Yeah. It promotes community, for one thing. So you know, that's an added bonus. So here's some examples I found of round robin quilts. They can be fairly elaborate. Okay, this one called the Fiesta Round. I mean, that's pretty. Obviously, the people working on that were
talented.
Yeah. They knew what they were doing. Although, not necessarily. It looks to me like there's some points on those flying geese that might have been a little hacked off. Hard to tell in these pictures, you know. Can you blow it up? They're not bad, but some of them are a little clipped.
How would you do a block in that? No.
Well, the idea is you start in the center, and there's a center block, like here, okay? And then they might have this whole thing with the border around it was probably one block.
Yeah.
Well, then it's up to the next person to go all the way around. It's why it's called a round robin.
Yeah.
With a block of their choice.
Yeah.
And so this person decided to use this thing, and then probably put the border on it. So maybe it looks like there's a border between each block. So I guess they probably had to finish the block off with a border, and then the next one gets it, and etc. This one either cheated and decided just to add strips to it, or this person went overboard and added more borders to it. Hard to say. It depends. You set the rules for it. I think it's an interesting idea, but I've never been involved in one, so I don't know. Okay, so that's all that stuff. Okay, so I told you I was going to show you something that kind of incorporates a lot of these ideas, and I would have had this out sooner, except I didn't think about it until now. But Walter will stare at you and make googly eyes, Walter. That'll keep them amused. Hang your tongue out, look like a drunkard. Okay, I made this. I was into quilting when I first made this, but I was still in the transitional period between my paper crafting, my art journaling, especially, and doing collage work, and into moving into fiber art. And so this. Now, if you look at this, you can see there's some thread on here. That's strands of thread. This is fabric. I stiffened it. I scrunched it all up. I used something called Stiffy on it, which is basically a watered down glue. Quit laughing at Stiffy. He's nasty. And then I scrunched it up and I glued it down to, I have a substrate here. This is old torn up scrapbook paper in the background onto this canvas. I think I painted the canvas first to kind of a gold color. You see it on the edges. Paints. Put down scrap paper like a collage, Mod Podged it. I then scrunched up my fabric and I sprayed it with inks, spray inks that I had a lot in my art supplies. And it all dried stiff and I just glued it here. And there's another one over here. So you see, so that's fabric. Then the butterflies, I die cut, but I die cut them out of paper and fabric. Again, I used the same method. I sort of Mod Podged my fabric. Well, I used my Stiffy on it, but I let it dry, laying flat. And then it was stiff enough that I could put it into my butterfly punch and cut them out. But I also did some paper on them. And I also glittered them as well. And what other elements? I told you about the thread that's in there. I think that's all the elements that I have that I can see. But it's a collage. I think it's pretty. I got rid of a lot of my art stuff that I finished. I threw it out. That I experimented with. I didn't throw this piece out though, because I really like it, and I still like it. It may not be to everybody's taste, but it was fun to do. It was fun to do. So there's a possibility and using some of those other techniques they talked about. Do you like it?
Yeah,
Yes,
nice.
okay. Whatever. With it. Okay. So, anything else that comes to your mind about this topic, about challenges? What about sewing challenges? Like making a quilted jacket?
Yeah, I know. I gotta do stuff like that.
Or I'm thinking like bag making.
Yeah.
Like, but doing some really weird bags.
Yeah, I was thinking of that too. Yeah.
Which I have in mind for weird.
I don't know. Yeah.
Bags with a hole in the bottom? No. That's not a bag. That's a hole. I don't know. Making... I like the idea of exploring other textiles and things like that to see what you can do with it. I wanted to experiment, and I have done a little bit, but not much on Lucy. When I first got Lucy, I was thinking of doing some of these kind of techniques that we're talking about, thread painting and stuff like that, but using the long arm for that kind of thing, and just maybe actually making fabric for that you could cut down to use in tote bags and stuff like that. I've done something like that, but it's been fairly conventional. You know, it's just been basically a big piece of fabric that I quilted on. And then, you know, layered it all, quilted on it, took it off, and then cut it.
Yeah, I think it would be nice to, if you did actually do a quilted jacket, if you could have the quilting to be more matched into the panel that you're putting together type of thing.
Yeah, well, what do you mean? Like actually make the fabric itself first, and then you cut it out?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the way I would think that you would probably
that
go
way
about
you
it.
get a design that's really kind of coerce, kind of nice to on the jacket, rather than just taking a quilt and cut it into pieces.
Yeah, maybe we should make vests. Vests are probably easier first instead of a jacket to start with in that technique. I don't know. Possibilities here, people. We'll see. Okay. Well, I can't think of anything else on this particular category. Next week, we are going to be talking about I have no idea, because the ideas come from you. So I need more ideas. People, bring me more ideas. I have a few on the back burner, but I need more for that. And if you're enjoying us taking your ideas and running with them, then please give us some ideas. Don't hold back. And yeah, so what's coming up? Well, Stephen and Walter live on Sunday as usual is there. And next week, well, there'll be a whole new set of videos. Do check out Brian Parks, the interview I did with him. Links in the show notes. You won't be disappointed. And do check out, after you've seen the interview, or before, check out his channel as well. All of those links will be in the show notes.
Yeah, I noticed he does ones about like his favorite tools and
yeah, he's got
stuff
some
like
really
that,
good
you know.
videos on there.
So I think he'd be interesting to look at what he has to offer.
Yeah, and as I said, his videos are very professional with them. Puts me to shame. Yeah, about it. Well, I have a different style. I'm sort of eclectic. He's sort of professional. I'm sort of an amateur. He's sort of professional. I'm sort of I don't give a shit.
Well, I think if he's somebody that had a need or whatever to make his own costumes.
Yes, he does his own costumes.
And it sort of has developed more into a hobby.
Yeah. And as I said, he's got a background in in graphic arts, and which he actually is involved with when he does his day job, because he still works full time. He's not a retired gentleman. And I asked him, how do you do all of this, plus the editing for your videos and stuff like that? But he knows what he's doing when it comes to editing, because that's kind of what his job involves too, that as well. So yeah, you won't be disappointed. Check him out. Okay, that's it from us today. So thank you for joining us. I hope we triggered some inspiration for you from these ideas. Thank you, Jeannie Allen, for the suggestion, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.